Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I think you should be able to hear me. Today's session is session 2 of a discussion that we're having with ESKOM that covers the registration criteria for solar PV systems. Ooh, for some reason, my video has been disabled, so I'm not going to switch that on. I don't know what the reason for that would be. My name is Karel Ballack. I'm the president for the Association for Renewable Energy Practitioners. Because this is session 2 of 4, we are not going to do an introduction of AREP to cover what AREP does, where AREP fits into the picture. I'm going to jump directly into the conversation with ESKOM. Laura has brought a number of, or a few more team members on board with her to cover the topics in this discussion. I think you will find that the session 3 and session 4 is going to be even deeper as we delve into more technical matters as far as the registration criteria and solar PV system requirements are concerned. Laura, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Karel.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you very much. Oh, well, there you go. That's my face on the screen. Guys, because this is session 2 of 4, and in previous sessions, we waited a while for more guys to sign in. I think at the moment, we've got about 90 participants that have signed in already. The previous session had well over 500 participants attending the meeting. So I think as the discussion becomes more and more technical, we are going to find that there might be less guys joining us because most people would have had their questions answered, and not everybody is interested in the extreme technical details. Laura from ESKOM is joining us, and I'm just going to, Laura, I'm going to hand over the floor to you. You are welcome to carry on with the discussion, and then if you could also introduce your team members, and you guys are welcome to work through the presentation that you've prepared.
Okay, thank you so much, Karel. Once again, thanks so much to AREP for giving us the opportunity to participate, in these engagements. It's imperative that we walk the journey together and we're on board in terms of the SSEGs. My name is Laura Christensen Wood, as Karel indicated. I'm the Marketing Operations Manager in the Gauteng province. With me, I've also invited my colleagues my counterparts across the country, as well as I've invited one of our key component members, who's Salesh. He assisted us, through the incubation stages of the SSEGs. I've also invited Aisha. They might have already joined, or they will join shortly. I've also got Sipho Dlamini. Sipho Dlamini is the manager in the marketing energy services environment. And Sipho will be walking us through the presentation. His presentation comprises out of questions that arose from our session 2 weeks ago. So in the presentation, you'll find the contact details across the country of individuals that you contact related to the SSEGs. And then he has responses in terms of the scenarios that were sent to us. And I encourage everyone, let's participate in today's engagement. We agreed we'd meet every second week so that we can ensure that we're able to answer and respond to all questions raised. Thank you, Karel. With that said, I will then hand over to Sipho Dlamini.
Good morning. Oh, yeah. Good day, colleagues. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Thanks, Sipho.
As I just joined in now, I was struggling to join, and I might have missed some of earlier comment. Is it my turn to present? Oh, I've missed the opening remarks, colleagues. I've just joined in now.
Yes, Sipho, it's your turn to present. I introduced ESKOM, and in terms of where we're currently at, where we come from, and where we're at now in our second session, and our journey to the future. I've also provided a summary in terms of our presentation. So you're welcome to proceed.
Okay, thank you, Laura. I need to share my screen. If someone can guide, I don't see the option to share the screen here. Laura, it looks like you are the one who is on the screen.
I've
Yes.
just promoted you to panelist, so just check if that allows you the option to share. Do you see the option now?
Okay. Share the screen. Okay. Kindly indicate, colleagues, if you can see the screen.
No, not yet on my side.
Okay, go back and because I've chosen to share the entire screen. Must I choose to share the window?
Let me try. I'm gonna see if I can share the document from my side. Laura did send it to me. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Sipho, it's possible that it's just your screen resolution, and that so you first select the entire screen, and then you've got to press OK at the bottom of the window. So it's possible that there's just one button that's not showing on your display.
Okay. Let me try it again. No, yeah, if it's possible, colleagues, if you can share from your side. I'm not winning from my side. I'm sorry, colleagues, for the sake of time. Thank you. If you can please proceed to the next slide. Next slide, please.
So I'm on the contact details. Do you want me to go to the next one?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I believe we can go straight to the list of the questions. So here, this is scenario number 1. I'll go through it and then I'll go to the questions if that's not a problem. We understand that hybrid inverters installed with solar power and battery storage that are synchronized with the ESKOM grid are subject to the SSEG registration. This is because the hybrid inverter is connected to the ESKOM grid, even if the attached loads are powered mostly by the solar power and battery storage during the day. The first question is, can ESKOM confirm that in the above scenario, SSEG registration is not required? In our first engagement, colleagues, I presented two connections or two configurations or two scenarios indicating off-grid and the grid-tied connection. And I did indicate that for all the grid-tied setup or connection are subject to SSEG application, regardless whether you are using electricity less or you are not using it at all. But for the mere fact that your your system is embedded, it is grid tied. So your system is subject to SSEG registration. Hence, our answer here is, unfortunately, all those installations where the load is exclusively supplied by the SSEG are considered off-grid and do not need to register with ESKOM. So yeah, but the long and short of it, it's all about how your system is connected. It is not about the proportion as to how much of the load is being carried by the SSEG or by ESKOM electricity. So it is all about the configuration. So the next question is, once ESKOM and the municipality start inspections and disconnecting solar installations that are not registered, what is required to prove that the inverter is not connected to the grid to prevent disconnection? So yeah, the answer is okay. If you can go back a bit, first scenario.
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
Here we go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our answer is, if you cannot prove to be compliant in the 12-month grace period, then provide proof of declaration of a declaration form confirming the system is off grid. So I'm sure almost all of us are aware that there is a dispensation of 12 months, and where some of the fees actually are scrapped. Connection fee is scrapped to encourage customers to come forward. So if you cannot prove that your system is compliant, then you need to provide the proof of the declaration form confirming that your system is off grid. That's our stance. If you can please proceed to the next slide. Okay, didn't we jump one scenario? Can go back a bit, sorry. Okay. All right, no, it's fine. Okay, in this scenario, goes like this. If this installation is then converted to a full off-grid solar system by physically removing the incoming ESKOM AC cable that provides power to the inverter to recharge the batteries in the overcast weather, then this full off-grid system does not have any physical connection from the inverter to the ESKOM off-grid and therefore does not require SSEG registration. The question is, can ESKOM confirm that in the above scenario, SSEG registration is not required? So like I've indicated, it is all about how your system is connected. It's nothing more, nothing less. Hence, our answer is if you cannot prove to be compliant in the 12-month grace period, then provide proof of declaration form confirming that the system is off-grid. So it's as simple as that. Another question is, once ESKOM and municipalities start doing inspections and disconnecting solar installations that are not registered, what is required to prove that the inverter is not connected to the grid to prevent disconnection? Again, if you cannot prove to be compliant in the 12 months grace period, then you need to provide the proof of the declaration form confirming that the system is off-grid. If you can please move to the next slide. However, some installation can be fully powered 24/7 from solar and battery storage in good weather and only use the incoming grid power when it is overcast or raining to keep the batteries charged and run the connected loads. Can ESKOM confirm that in the above scenario, SSEG registration is not required? As I've indicated, colleagues, it's not about how much of electricity is being drawn from the solar system or from the grid. It boils down to how the system is connected. Hence, our response is irrespective of whether you are using electricity or not, as long as the inverter is connected to the grid, you need to apply for the SSEG. And the next question is, once ESKOM and the municipalities start doing inspections and disconnecting solar installations that are not registered, what is required to prove that the inverter is not connected to the grid to prevent disconnection? And our response is, if you cannot prove to be compliant in the 12-month grace period, then kindly provide the proof of a declaration form confirming that your system is off-grid. If you kindly please go to the next slide. The scenario number 4. Okay, it goes like this. These loads could then be placed on a changeover switch to enable the loads to run on the off-grid solar system during a good weather, and then be bypassed and connected direct to the grid in overcast weather. At no point is the inverter ever physically connected to the ESKOM grid. And the question is, can ESKOM confirm that in the above scenario, SSEG registration is not required? And our response is, unfortunately, only those installations where the load is exclusively supplied by the SSEG are considered off-grid and do not need to register with SSEG. Again, it's all about how the system is connected. It is not about how much of electricity you are getting from the SSEG. It boils down on the connection of the system. As long as your system is embedded, whether you are using electricity or not, actually, it doesn't matter.
Sipu,
Yes.
sorry, can I interrupt you quickly? So guys,
All
there
right.
it seems to be a bit of confusion in what is considered to be an off-grid system. If we read that sentence, it says these loads could then be placed on a changeover switch. The minute that the sentence has the word changeover switch in it, the system is not considered to be off-grid any longer. An off-grid
Yes,
system is a system that is completely disconnected from the grid by there
100%.
yes, there should be no means of switching over to ESKOM. As long as there's a changeover switch, it's connected to
Yes,
the grid.
100%, 100%.
Thanks, Sipu. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay, no problem. Following question, once ESKOM and the municipalities start doing inspections and disconnecting solar installation that are not registered, what is required to prove that the inverter is not connected to the grid to prevent disconnection? If you cannot, our response is, if you cannot prove to be compliant in the 12 months grace period, then please provide the proof of the declaration form confirming the system that is off grid. If you can, I think this was the last scenario as far as I'm concerned. And this is, yeah, our response to the questions that were sent to us earlier on. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we've Sipu, does that cover all of your questions? Laura, are there any more presentations from your side?
Maybe if I can answer on her behalf, that was the only presentation that we prepared to answer all the list of the questions.
Okay, that's excellent. Thanks, Sipu. I see we do have a couple of questions that have come through on the Q&A platform.
Okay.
And Jade wants to know, where exactly do clients register? So, and maybe it's not, do they register online? Do they have to go to the offices in their respective regions? How is this process managed?
Okay, maybe if we can kindly go back to the presentation, the part that was actually indicating the contact individuals nationwide. I think that can be answered because we have got the contact individuals throughout the country. It was covered on the presentation. I think it was slide number 3, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. This is where you can send the queries, and you will be guided in terms of the documents that you must fill in, everything that you need to know. These are the contact people for all the SSEG queries.
Okay, that's great. So we will look at which province we are based in. We will send the email. If it's a smaller system, we will send it to the contact in the left-hand column. If it's a
Yes.
bigger system, it will be sent to the contact in the right-hand side. And they will then respond by sending the correct documentation.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Jade. I'm assuming that answered your question. So the way to register would be by sending an email to one of the contacts. If it's most of the people attending here, I think would be for systems smaller than 1 megawatt. So you'd be sending an email to the contact in the left-hand side column, depending on your province, and they will respond with a type of documentation. Guys, in your email, just be clear about what it is you want to do. You want to register a system. It is grid-tied or it is off-grid. This is the size. And then they'll make sure that they send you the correct documentation. Quick question that is not covered here. It kind of ties into Kalpesh's question. For an off-grid system, does the declaration require a sign-off from a PRNG?
No. You just fill in because the declaration form actually is listing all different kind of connections. Then you will only choose the one that is applicable to your system. You just declare that your system is not grid-tied and is not going to cause any harm on our network, and then you send it to ESKOM. Then I also want to indicate that recently all the declaration form that were sent forward, then we have taken them to network engineering department. So don't be surprised if you get a call scheduling the site visits to actually for further inspection or investigation, because as we are the licensed ESKOM, I'm sorry, licensed electricity distributor, we are the custodian of the network. It is our responsibility to safeguard network. So, and we don't have an issue actually with this solar system, but it is our responsibility to make sure that it is done in an orderly manner and all registered and done also in a safe manner. So if ESKOM comes to inspect your solar system that you declared is off grid, so please don't be surprised. I thought let me share it up front. It doesn't end with the declaration form. There might be some site visit to do further investigation.
ESKOM is going to send out a technician to come and confirm that the system is in fact off-grid. Is that right? Yes.
Well, look, all that we received from Energy Services Department was the request of all the list of the customers, but the onus is on the customer actually to prove that the system is off grid. So
Okay.
maybe when they come on site, they might ask to demonstrate that the system is off grid or show them that the system is off grid, but the onus is not on ESKOM. The onus is on the customer
Yes.
to prove that the system is off grid.
Yes, but the technician will do a site visit just to confirm that it is in fact the case.
That's what we have been told. That's
Okay.
what we have been told, that there might be some site visit for further investigation.
Okay. That's 100%. Thank you very much, Sipo. I think that has answered Kalpesh's question. Jonathan says his question has been hacked slightly. I'm going to jump through to his question. It says, if the purpose of SSEG registration is to ensure that the inverter is compliant when it is synchronized, why are ESKOM insisting on SSEG registration for an inverter that is not connected to the grid? Jonathan, as long as you have a changeover switch. So this actually goes back way long before we actually started connecting solar systems to the grid. If you had a large generator that worked on a mechanical changeover switch, you had to actually register that installation with ESKOM so that they knew that there was a generator on a changeover switch that operated in that environment. So it is a safety mechanism, and it was a safety mechanism at that time, and it is assumed that when there is a changeover switch, your system is not off grid. This is a huge misconception in industry, guys, thinking that if they fit a changeover switch, the system operates off grid. It's not operating off grid. It is considered to be grid connected. And then Jonathan's second question says, Why are you interfering with how loads are being powered, which is a function behind the meter? It is a function behind the meter, but it could still have an impact on the grid and on the grid quality. You could have a surge that could fuse some of the boards or the circuits inside the inverter that could have an impact on the grid. So I don't think it's necessarily that Sipu's presentation confused with how loads are being powered. Your system is either connected to the grid or off grid. That is, and if there's a changeover switch, it's considered to be connected to the grid. Sipo, I'm sorry I answered that one for you, but I
No,
hope
100%. And thank you so much. And maybe just to add also, the fact that you have got a changeover switch, actually, when you decide now to switch to ESKOM grid, you will not notify ESKOM. You will do it as in when you deem it fit to do it. So that is why, you know, the fact that you are in full control when to switch, and you will not make an application to ESKOM to say in the next 4 days, actually, I want to switch to ESKOM grid. So just to add on what you have just said, Carol, you are 100% correct.
Thanks, Sipu. I see Sinead is up next. She said that there are a couple of questions, so I hope Sinead has a hand up. I don't see any hands up though. Where are the hands? Let me just.
You can see the hands when you click on the participants, Carl. But I think
There. Okay, cool. I have allowed you to talk. Sinead, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, my camera's not working, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to be anonymous for now.
No, that's cool.
So I did watch your guys' video on the first session, but we're pretty much new to the registration or the applications with ESKOM. So I have already asked the questions, some of them, but one of the big ones is we need to apply registration to governmental schools. So obviously we're not too sure how the process works in terms of, you know, going about the schools, like what is the documentation, you know, whom really needs to sign those documents. If, you know, we can just get clarity on that question first, if that's all right.
Okay, so before you are you referring to the registration of the school? So the school itself gets an account from either the municipality or from ESKOM. If you, as long as you have the go-ahead from the school governing council, governing body, you have the permission to have the system registered through ESKOM. I think you might have to just clarify that question a bit with regards to permissions.
Okay, I'm actually not. I'm not too sure. Hence why I was asking. So you say that so the school has to basically go through the school council, and then obviously once they've given the go ahead, do then we apply? Or I'm not too sure. Hence why I'm on this. I'm on this webinar.
So it depends on what the school body is like and whether it's a private or a public school. But what would typically happen is the person who's in charge at the school, might be the principal, would probably give you the go ahead. If it depends on who's funding the project. So there could be a number of ways in which to look at how your question should be answered. So it's not, there are quite a few variables in your question. We are busy with the school at the moment, and the treasurer or financial director, the financial director has approved the project to go ahead. and the financial director has also given the contractor the go-ahead to do the registration with the municipality. So it depends on how the school functions and where the decision making lies within the school body. So
Because all I know is the principal basically gave us permission to register their system, but you know, because we're so new, we're not really sure as in terms of you know, does governmental schools follow the same process as, you know, normal applications, or you know, is there certain
okay.
documentation
Sinead, okay.
that they need?
That answers my question. So Sipu, this is
Sorry.
this is a question for you. Are third parties allowed to register systems on behalf of a client, and how is that process managed?
Okay, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah. The documents which form part of the applications is a proxy letter. Some they call it letter of authority, where the customer, the owner of the account, is actually appointing that third party. So they must give you the letter. We call it a proxy letter, to say we have been appointed to make an application on behalf of the customer. And then you must also send the latest account statement, just to verify where the customer is, because in the application form sometimes you find that a project developer doesn't capture the information correctly. So at least if you have attached the latest account statement and the single line diagram indicating how the system is connected. Two documents you will get from us is the application form, is the engineering letter template, which is stipulating all the grid code standard that the installation or the system must conform to. You submit those, we off to go. But maybe, but of course, there is a desktop exercise that we do. We check something like the tariff, because now we are talking the school. We need to make sure that the school is on the right tariff, which is the time of use tariff. It's a requirement for it, but it's fine. All those things get sorted once you make the application. Hopefully, I've answered your question.
So now, so your answer
Yes.
is a proxy form. Are you there?
Are you talking to me?
Yes. So your answer to the question was there's a proxy form. So the school has to
Yes,
do the proxy.
Yes, no, I did get that, Shane. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And did that answer your questions?
Yes, it did. So it pretty much it does pretty much follow the same process as a normal application. It's just, of course, the proxy letter that would obviously be then another document that we would need to then submit.
Yes, 100%. In the is there anything else from your side, Sinead?
Yeah, sorry, man. Just in terms of tracking the application, once we've submitted, do we get notified, or is there like a specific email address that we can query in terms of just the process or how far it is?
Okay. Can I go ahead, Carol, and
Yes,
answer?
yes, yes. Sipu, that's yours. That's for you.
Okay, thank you. So normal, I mean, the list of the colleagues that are actually been shared on that screen, most of them, they are energy services managers. So they will be your contact people in case, but under normal circumstances, when the application comes in, it get allocated to an energy advisor. The energy advisor will then tell you that we come back to acknowledge receipt of your application, and then from there they will keep you informed as to where the application is. And then, of course, if you feel that they not updating you as much as you want, then you can escalate the matter to the energy services managers. So the list of those individuals, most of them, they are energy services managers.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then, sorry, one last question. In terms of the timeline or duration of the application process, is there like an estimate turnaround time, or does it really just depend on the application?
The quick one is the residential one, purely because some of the fees have been scrapped. So if everything, well, I understand now that almost everyone who has got the solar system and is coming to the party. So it shouldn't take more than 2 months. I'm talking residential under normal circumstances. The workload, and let me also indicate that actually this process, it at least involve 3 to 4 departments. And I want to speak about the network engineering department. They deal with all type of application that comes to ESKOM, including the downgrade, including the upgrade, including the new application, plus the SSEG. So it's also dependent on the workload on their side. Also the project execution, they are handling all kind of project that comes to ESKOM, including the one that I've already indicated. So it sometimes depend on the workload, but under normal circumstances, the residential is between 2 to 3 months, purely because some of the fees have been scrapped, the connection fees, because you need to compile the budget code. It must go to pricing. The pricing must vet it. I must take it to the customer. The customer must sign it, indicating that they're accepting the budget code. It must come back to me. I must load it on the system. The invoice must be generated. You pay. I need to get the proof of payment. I take it to execution. Then execution, that's where everyone submit their project. But right now, since the connection fees have been scrapped, I see Laura, your hand is up. You can go ahead, ma'am.
Sipho, I just wanted to highlight, maybe if you could explain the costs that we've waived on residential. So that would then make sense. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Under normal circumstances, the budget code, which has been scrapped, it ranges from 5,000 Rand to 9,000 Rand, because sometimes you find that the meter is old. So you are not going to only reprogram the meter, you have to change the meter. So the cost can go up to 11,000 Rand. And under normal circumstances, also, when you change when you make an application to change the tariff, because the home flex tariff is now available for everyone, there is a cost to attach to it, which is ranging from 2,000 Rand to 2,500, something like that. So it's 10,000 plus 2.5 that has been waived. So the cost that you are only paying now is just to get your project registered, I mean, on the system, sorry, allocated on the system, uploaded on the system, so that the resources can be allocated. I'm talking, when we are talking resources, you're talking the energy advisor, you're talking the design technician, we are talking the project coordinator, and we are talking our colleagues from the CNC who must come and witness the commissioning of the project. Hopefully I've clarified nicely, Laura.
Yes, Sipho. Maybe if you could open it to your colleagues from ESKOM, if anybody would like to fill in any or add in anything
Sinead, are you happy with
additional.
that?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Laura. In attendance, we have got other colleagues from ESKOM. So, colleagues, you are welcome to add if you want to add on what I've already said. Thank you.
We're just going to need the names of the people who do maybe want to make a comment so we can set their permissions.
Oh, okay.
I don't see anything in the chat. I think we can then proceed.
Okay, great. So, oh,
Thank
there
you.
you are.
So sorry, Mariesha. I was just struggling to get to my unmute button. I'm assuming that answered Sinead's questions. Guys, we have a question in the text box from an anonymous attendee. This is not Facebook. We don't do anonymous attendees. Please change your name so that we can see who you are. Or, yeah, I think that would be the way to do it. This is not Facebook. This is a meeting in an open platform. You show your name, you ask your problem, we move on. Werner Lombard is next on the chat box. So Werner, I think if you can raise your questions. I see you've got 3 questions, but you've also raised your hand. And then after you, I'm going to ask Natchavani to quickly address his questions. So Werner, I'll go with you first because you're in line on the text questions.
All right, thank you. Hey guys, hey Sipho, I just want to clarify something, and I just want to make sure we work quite extensively with ESKOM on a lot of these projects, but I just want to make sure on one of those scenarios I do understand you guys correctly, because I think the question might have been posed a bit differently. So if you've got an off-grid site, which means there's no ESKOM going to the inverter, synchronizing with the inverter at all. In other words, there's no ESKOM line coming into the inverter. That would be considered an off-grid site, all right? So if there's a switch over on the side towards ESKOM that bypasses the solar system in its entirety and then supplies load. If I'm not mistaken, that's 100% correct and can be done so through ESKOM. In other words, at no point in time would your inverter system will ever be synchronized with ESKOM. It'll either be off-grid or you will just be switching the loads of the client on a separate switchover so that the client, the whole system, the whole solar system will be bypassed, and they will only supply directly from ESKOM to the client's loads. I just want to confirm if that is correct and that is considered correctly under your rules there, because it was a bit confusing to me when you guys read scenario 3, but I think the question might have been posed a bit differently.
Okay, can I go ahead and answer, Karen?
Sipho, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you can please clarify the issue of the switch.
If I can clarify, sorry, I didn't hear you there.
The issue of the switch.
So it will be a mechanical switchover that
Yes.
would be sitting just after on the client's side, and it will actually only be switching the client's DB box. In other words, it will not be switching the entirety of the system, the solar system. So in other words, the client will be off grid. There will be no input from ESKOM. There will be no synchronization from the inverter at any time. All right. Unless, let's say, it is a couple of cloudy days and the system goes down, it shuts off. All right. Then the client will be able to switch over mechanically back only the load side. So it won't be charging any batteries. It won't be synchronizing the inverter, nothing. It would only supply the base load of the client for that point in time, while the little bit of solar that's coming in will be charging the batteries on the other side.
Yeah, you need to make an application. It's embedded. The system is them because now you see it's up to you when do you do the switching. So you just need to make an application. You need to make an application, then you indicate that there is a switch, because the moment there is a switch and the customer is in full decide when to switch to solar, when to switch to it can open a can of worms. So we treat all those systems as grid tight, because it becomes very difficult now. The moment you put the switch in between, it will be very difficult to monitor that. So we treat all those setup as grid tight.
Banner, if there's a switch, it's not off grid.
Carl, I hear you guys. All right.
I
Thank you.
understand the logic behind it, and to me it makes perfect sense. But the fact that there is a switch that allows the customer the flexibility to change over either from ESKOM to or either run just from ESKOM or just from solar does not make it off grid. It's embedded. It needs to be read.
I understand that, but then the physical ESKOM rules regarding that is not clear, because we had a couple of consultations with high ESKOM guys in that specific position, and it was pretty clear accordance to the rules. But I'm not going to be able to give you that rules right now. But thank you, Carl. I'll see Sipo's email address there, so I might just send that that process within the ESKOM rules to him and just get clarification on that then at a later stage. Thank you.
I think if you have something in writing, where it's clarified and maybe a high-level line diagram, that'll go a long way to make the world for everybody in the solar industry a lot simpler. I think ESKOM is a massive organization, and what I've seen in the past is getting everybody to the same level or to the same discussion is not always that easy or straightforward. So if you've got something in writing, that'll be very helpful.
All right, thanks, Carl.
Werner, you had 3 questions.
Now that's all answered now.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
had one. You had one on Rooftop as well.
Yeah, but I think I just want to clarify with Sipo one thing. If you are a farm user, the guys on the farms, I just want to clarify something. There's a thing like home flex, etc., etc. The guys living on the farms, on the rural sites, I've got quite a lot of clients there. I just want to clarify that they have to be on Ruraflex to register SSEG, or is there another process that does not need that client to register on Ruraflex? Because the big problem is if they have to go to Ruraflex, it's one hell of a deposit to give for the clients. I think it's 122,000, 167,000 Rand for 100 kVA is the deposit there, plus a 67,000 Ruraflex metering fee. So I don't know if you can maybe just help me out with that question.
Sipho?
Thank you, Karel. I'm not sure about the figures, but yes, ruler flex, it's a requirement. It's a time of use tariff. It is a requirement for SSEG. There is no other way. Time of use tariff is a requirement for the SSEG. And I want to indicate something. There is also actually benefit to be on the time of use tariff, because the time of use tariff has got the off-peak period. Off-peak period meaning it's a period where ESKOM electricity is cheaper. And there's peak period, meaning it's a period where ESKOM electricity is expensive. So you can actually decide to use your SSEG during the ESKOM peak period and use ESKOM electricity during the off-peak period. So there is also a benefit attached to the time of use tariff.
Werner, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Coral.
Thanks, guys. Okay, I promised Nakchavani that we will move to him next. Nakchavani, are you there? I think I have allowed you to talk.
Okay, thank you, Carol. So I had a similar question as Mr. Berner, who just finished now. Okay, this might be my own understanding on after we've done some solar design on how to what is a off-grid system and what is an grid-tied system. So to my understanding, when we call an off-grid system, is like explain it's that we don't connect the ESKOM into the inverter. And then if we're not supplying our inverter, basically our solar system with the ESKOM, then it's an off-grid system, to my understanding, beside the inverter setup and all that. So maybe if we could have more clarity on the ESKOM demand, basically the list of what is clearly the off-grid system according to their understanding, so that we are clear. Because if we put an change over switch between the solar system and the ESKOM system, because it's on the load system, is it still considered as a grid type? Because to any solar course that we have done, or everything that we have done, it doesn't specify that whenever you put a changeover between the solar load and the ESKOM load, that become a grid tight. Because maybe I might be wrong, I might be correct, but I would look one of those documents to share with you to see if I'm correct or wrong. Just one quick one. Is it possible also for SIPO, if he could maybe in future, are they gonna create maybe a WhatsApp group in terms of registration to fasten the process? And how long does the process take when someone wants to register? Those are the two questions. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. I see Laura has put up her hand. Laura?
Yeah, maybe that's an idea. Maybe it's something we need to look at as a more streamlined channel where we could communicate or submit applications. So regarding the WhatsApp, we'll investigate that and we'll respond before our next meeting. And then also maybe to give some guidance, we'll also prepare documents surrounding the guidelines in terms of how long would it take to conclude on the entire SSEG process, and also mapping out each stage of it. Thank you.
Nakravani, the other question you had was on the grid tied versus off-grid,
Yes.
the changeover switch. So Werner indicated that he was going to try and see if he could find the email and the confirmation. Up until
Yeah.
such time as there is anything in writing, if there is any form of connection between the grid and your solar system, and it includes a changeover switch, it's not off-grid. Any form of connection, it's not off-grid. In other words, you can't rely on the grid as a backup. The minute you want to rely on the grid as a backup, it is not off-grid any longer. And if that mechanism or that means is through the activation of a switch, it's not off-grid, it's grid connected.
Maybe my question was, I did not formulate it properly. What I'm saying is your solar system is an off-grid when it does not charge your inverter or your solar system with the ESKOM when it's cloudy and all that. My question is that let's take a scenario where your inverter is totally working on solar panels and batteries, and it does not need any ESKOM connection. The only switch that I'm talking about is the switch on the loads, not on the input of ESKOM, on the loads. So it's only switch to ESKOM when the solar is off, not that it will switch from ESKOM to charge the battery or to supply the solar system. It only gonna switch to solar when, let's say, because I'm off-grid and my battery are flat and I don't have any sun and my solar goes off, then the changeover take over to back to ESKOM. So that's why I just wanted to have some clarity on if they can elaborate. Is it on both sides, even though your solar is working off-grid and can alternate between the solar system and the ESKOM? So just on that one, yeah.
Akchavani, the minute you can alternate, it's not off-grid. The minute you can alternate, it's not off-grid. If your customer runs out of battery power and he spends the night in the dark, or he spends 3 days in the dark because it's raining, that system is off-grid. The minute he touches a switch and the switch powers part of his system, it's not off-grid anymore. It is possible for you to have a grid-connected system and an off-grid system in one property. And now maybe, Sipu, you can just clarify that for me. But it's possible to have a grid-connected system and an off-grid system in one property, provided there's absolutely no connection between the two. So if the customer runs his lights and entertainment on an off-grid system, and the system drains completely while there's overcast weather over a period of 3 or 4 days, and he doesn't have any power to that system, and he has no means of connecting ESKOM to run his loads, that system is off grid. The minute you've got a changeover switch, it's considered grid connected. That's the definition. If there's a switch, it's connected.
Yeah,
It's not-
100%, Carol, 100%. Maybe if I can add, when we are talking about an off-grid setup, it's a setup that does not include at any point involve electricity. So rather you might have a generator instead of, if for instance you have got your solar system plus a diesel generator. So in the case of an overcast, then you run your generator. Then that's an off-grid. So an off-grid, it means that there is no chance whatsoever that you can use ESKOM electricity. That system is completely off-grid. But the moment there is a chance that the very same load, you can either use ESKOM grid or your solar system. Then that we don't deem it as an off-grid system. Hopefully, I've answered your question.
Giovanni, are you happy with the response?
Thank you very much. Yes, Carol. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Guys, I'm moving on. Luandile says, how long does it take for SSEG application to be approved? I think that question has been answered. Sipu indicated in the region of about 2 to 3 months. Could be longer, could be shorter. It depends on your paperwork. There are lots of departments within ESKOM, and all of these departments have to fulfill some or other function. So if there is infrastructure costs that still have to be recovered by ESKOM, for example, your application might take longer because there are more processes that need to be completed on the ESKOM side. So it's not a if I submit my application today, it's going to be 2 months, it's going to be 8 weeks, and then life is going to be bliss, and everybody's going to be happy. It doesn't work that way. The application has to be treated, each application is treated on its own merit, and all of the ESKOM departments have to sign off before it can move on to the next process. I'm going to answer, so Bo, I'm going to answer a couple of text inquiries or text questions, and then I'm going to give you the floor so that you can raise your questions. So Lee says, I would still like to know, how will you be approaching sending reference numbers without including a subject or clear indication of the actual application? This limits us to process multiple applications at once. So Lee, what I would recommend is use your own numbers to keep this system to be able to allow you to keep track of which registration is where, and just submit one registration per email. I'm going to Sipu. Don't you just want to give us some clarity on the numbers and the sequence and that side of the process? So the
Okay, thank you.
registration number. Yes.
Okay. The numbers, you mean the number of applications?
No. So what Lee wants to know is if she submits a registration, oh, that's where the answer would be that the registration is tracked according to the customer's account number. Lee wants to process multiple registrations at once, and Lee feels that there has to be a number, in other words, a registration number for the process of registering a specific account. So Lee wants to have a different kind of numbering system to be able to track and keep record of all of their registrations. I'm assuming ESKOM does not have registration numbers, but keep track because it's done through the account number.
Yeah, if I can come in, Karel. Actually,
Thank
we
you.
do have, let's say, for instance, we have got 10 applications for different customers. We treat one application at a time. As soon as it's registered, then the system populate a project reference number. So each time we communicate to you on the heading of the email, we put the name of the customer dash the project reference number. So you will always be able to track each and every application independently. So our system can generate registration numbers. So you will be able to actually identify which actually email talks to which project at any point given time. I see Laura wants to add something.
I'd like to hand over with Carol if one of my colleagues, Laudine, would like to make a commentary.
Thank you.
If we could afford her the opportunity, please, Carl.
Where is Lodine?
It's Redelinghuis, Lodine, Redelinghuis.
Lodine Redlinghuis.
I found her, Lodine. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Good afternoon. It's Lodine Redlinghuis. I'm Laura's counterpart in the Western Cape. And I've also managed ESKOM's acquisitions program for quite some time in the Western Cape. So I was responsible for the launching of SSEGs, and I'd just like to also come in that Sipu explained that in our process, we identify a project per account, and that is just an easier way to track it throughout the process. So at this point in time, it's not possible for us to link multiple applications to one reference. We deal with it individually per account or per pod point of delivery as the application comes in. Thank you.
Thank you, Lodine. Lee, I assume that answered your question. So it seems that there are project reference numbers, and I don't know why you haven't received yours. Guys, we are going to be giving Laura's contact number again. Laura, I see your hand is still up. Is that a lazy hand?
Yes, Chair, it's a lazy hand. Apologies.
Okay, that's fine. So I'm assuming Laura has, Lodine has answered the question for Lee Lawrence. This is an interesting one. Sipu, Lorata wants to know whether you have to register diesel gen sets that are connected via a changeover switch. So we are getting technical now. I know years and years ago, you had to register large diesel gen sets that were connected via automatic changeovers. What is ESKOM's requirements with regards to registration of diesel gen sets?
I see Lodine's hands up. You can go ahead, Lodine. Thank you.
Thanks, Sipa. It's just because I've dealt with them. So Carol is correct. If it's synchronous, then it needs to be registered with ESKOM, as the protection scheme needs to be signed off with our protection guys to ensure that it speaks to our protection schemes. If it is a break and then make a generator, it is advisable that the customer informs ESKOM through the customer exec of such a generator, and we will then also put it on our diagrams for our technical departments to just be aware that there is a generator at that specific site. So at this point in time, it's not, for the lack of a better term, it's not policed, but it is advisable to inform ESKOM that you've got a diesel generator installed. And if it is synchronizing, in other words, first make the connection and then break, it needs to go through an application process, especially for us to actually confirm that the protection schemes are compatible. Thank you.
Okay, that is excellent. Thanks, Lodine. So when I've got a diesel gen set that is connected on a permanent basis through an automatic changeover switch, that should be registered with ESKOM.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. So that hasn't changed in all these years. Then Lorato says, Bo, you'll be up next. Lorato says, oh, we've covered Lorato's question. So Bo, are you available? Can you hear me? Or are you still in the meeting?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Karel, I think you and Sipho have been quite clear, but I'm thinking of loopholes. I
You're
think
you're
there's a
that guy.
strong, yeah, there's a strong argument for the changeover switch, or there's an argument for the changeover switch. But we're
Yes.
talking about connectivity between the inverter, the SSEG part, the energy generation is done by the inverter, and you don't want the inverter to in any way connect to the grid. But my understanding is, and I'm sure there are experts that know more than me about this, you can have multiple charges on the same battery. So if you just connect a battery charger to the grid, that will charge the battery in rainy day scenarios. And the rest of this, you power your installation purely from your SSEG system, but on a rainy day scenario, ESKOM can power a charger that can charge in parallel with the normal charger of the inverter. Could that be considered as a off-grid system that can still charge your system? Thank you.
Sipho, if you don't mind, I think I'm going to answer Bo quickly. I'm going to give you the grey answer. Laura might not like it. Maybe it's going to make her smile. I don't know. So you're going to register your system as an off-grid system, and you're just not going to have your charger connected when the ESKOM technician comes around to inspect it. If you are talking about finding loopholes, then that would be your loophole, because then there would be no connection. There's nothing to the guys. If you want to have arguments with the ESKOM technicians when they come to do inspections, try and do dodgy connections. You are inviting your declaration to be changed to a registration. So just, I hear what you're saying, Bo. There are ways to get around this, but just think outside the box.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Laura, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't cross the line there. Peter says, please share the contact details again. Guys, we will. Older systems installed years ago, how will they be handled? So inverters that do not comply to the NRS 097 requirements. Okay. So Sipho, before you take this one, if you guys go and study the NRS document, first of all, it says it's not a standard. So the NRS is a set of guidelines, and what it does is it provides inverter performance criteria. So if an inverter is not on the list, it doesn't mean that you can't use it. And if you go and read the NRS document, it says that although these inverters might not comply, you would be able to use other hardware associated with the inverter to make it comply. So just because it's not on the NRS list doesn't mean you can't use it, but you have a certain set of rules that the hardware you are using needs to comply with. So if you use third-party hardware along with your non-compliant inverter, you can still make it comply. Sipho, non-compliant NRS inverters, is the way that I've indicated it correct? How do you guys see it?
No, 100%. If there is no 09 NRS 097 certificate for the inverter, then it means the customer must put in the DGSL, that mechanical isolator. It can be used, just that now you must put the DGSL, yes.
Yes. So the DGSL is a device similar to an earth leakage that measures DC on or that has the ability to measure DC on the AC network. So the DGSL drawing that Henry Geldenhuys drew is a very simplified version where it just shows two contactors in connection with one another. But the DGSL is an actual relay. Am I correct as far as that is concerned?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so the DGSLs vary in price between about 10 and 15,000 Rand. So you can use inverters that are non-compliant, but you're going to end up spending a bit more money on getting your installation compliant, even when your inverter might not be. Okay. Tebogo, so I want to do 3 questions and then I'm going to jump through to Lee Lawrence. Lee, if you can make sure you are ready. Tebogo says, what about customers who are on prepaid meters? Tebogo, you still have to register. It just means that you will now be registering and you have a prepaid meter. Sipu, what happens to those meters? Are they replaced with meters that can measure power that is fed back?
For now, we are replacing all the prepaid meters with the postpaid meters. But yeah, ESKOM is looking into actually getting the prepaid meters that can be compatible with the time of use tariff. But currently, if you're on prepaid, then you will have to be moved to the postpaid meter, at least for now.
Okay. That's interesting. So there's a technicality in how the meters measure and how the meters apply certain rates. So it would almost have to be a smart meter that can can charge at different rates. Wow, fascinating. Okay.
I see Laura's hand is up. You can go ahead, Laura.
We maybe just to highlight, we do have our smart meter expert, who's Edison. He is looking into, we've already have a team that are looking into the possibility of introducing the time of use prepaid tariff in the SSEG space. So we've made some progressive work and we will keep you appraised each step of the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. I assume that answered the question. Lisa Mketu says, how and where do we register and what are the necessary documentation? We have covered that, Lisa. There was a list with all the contacts that was shown. We will circulate the recording. You'll be able to have access to all of those contacts. You can send an email. They will reply with what it is you need to submit as far as paperwork is concerned. Hanu wants to know, when is the end of the 12 months grace period? Isn't that April next year, Sipu?
Laura, do you wanna come in there?
Yeah, for now, we do have a timeline, but as I indicated, ideally the grace period would be as of April next year. However, we're trying our level best to ensure that we you know, that our customers, we give our customers full benefit of, you know, registering, you know, the SSEGs. Yes, there is a cutoff. However, it is a guideline. And if we are required to review, there is that possibility of us reviewing.
Laura, sorry, what was that timeline? Did I miss it while I was reading a question?
Now, what we have indicated was that it should be up until April of next year. Okay. That's my last update. There might be other changes that might have happened But if those have occurred and it hasn't come across my desk, I will feedback. I will go back to my counterparts and double check and ensure that I come back with the most recent information at our next meeting.
Thank you very much.
And the reason
So-
why I'm also highlighting, there's been a lot of, activities surrounding the registration of the SSEGs. So decisions that we had made last year, we're reviewing. You also look at the site. There are a lot of changes that we're looking at in terms of updating the site. So as I indicated, this is a space that we're trying our very best to ensure that we get our customers, registered on the SSEGs. So April was the guide in terms of the registration. However, if those goalposts have moved slightly, I will then confirm and feedback. Thank you.
Laura, thank you very much. I think that answered the question. Lee Lawrence, are you there? While we're waiting, yeah, there we go. Yes, Lee.
Hi, Carl. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I just would like to clarify on my question earlier about the multiple applications. So basically, I do submit my applications individually, but at times it takes up to a few weeks to actually receive a reference number from ESKOM. So that's what's avoiding me from submitting more than one application on the same day. So I've been using an email address, westerncape@eskom.co.za, to submit my applications with a subject line #application. Is that the correct way? And then also, I do not receive any account number relating to the client or the customer for me to track it on my side either. I think it's an automated reply with the subject line #application, and then it just refers to a reference number, but nothing that I can track back. So if I submit 4 applications per day and I receive reference numbers back, I can't allocate reference numbers to the actual clients because I don't know who they're for.
Oh, okay, I see Laura's hand is up. Laura?
Okay.
You'll find that is a platform that allows for all our, customer engagements to take place. So what we've done now, we've then created a funnel to ensure that we improve in our response times, because we know that, customers have an urgency of wanting to register. So hence, we've now provided those contact details. Moving forward, you will then direct that to the end user, because that would then, using the other platform, allows our CRM system then to redirect that. And there is a bit of human intervention to ensure that that gets directed to the correct environment. However, when there's human intervention, it does create an element of error. So by utilizing the details that will be communicated shortly of the individuals who will be handling the SSEG registrations, it would be best to forward those applications through to those contact email addresses. So what would then happen, those will get loaded, you will be provided with the reference number, and thereafter you would be in a position to track and follow up with those individuals.
Perfect.
Anything,
thank you very much.
Sipho, that I might have left out that you'd like to add?
I thought Lotine wanted to say something. I saw her hand. But from my side, no, there's nothing to add from my side, Laura.
Okay. May I ask another question?
Yeah. So just in response to your previous question, I think what we'll do is we are going to circulate Laura's contact details, and you guys are welcome to give her a call if you if you need to follow up on something or if you have queries. Yes, please go ahead with your question.
Okay. I would just like to know, has ESKOM considered going onto an online platform to process the SSEG application? So instead of doing it manually, submitting via email. So
I
something
think
similar to City of Cape Town, or outlining municipality areas that have already gone online.
that might be Laura. Laura?
Yeah, there are developments that are taking place. And I think, let me take that question and come back and update you on all the developments that are in the pipeline. Aisha, who's overseeing the portfolio of SSEGs, I'll invite her to our session so she can then provide detailed feedback of all the new developments that we have planned for ease of registration of the SSEGs, and also the slight amendments surrounding the entire process. But I've taken note of that, and I will ensure that we do respond to that, to your question. If that's okay, that if we could park it for now, and we respond in a presentation format where we share all the new developments surrounding the SSEG process and the application. Carl, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's okay from my side.
And it might kill a lot of future questions that might arise.
Yes, 100%. Lee, were you happy with that?
Yes, I was. Thank you, Coral. I do just have one more query, just to clarify something that was discussed previously. Sorry, very quickly. I just want to know, can you confirm what are the costs for the project, the project upload costs now? Because I did hear earlier that the quote and the tariff fees have been waived. So I just needed confirmation on the project upload costs.
Yeah, I'm not sure whose question that would be. Laura?
I think Sipho, he actually spoke about it, but I did
Okay.
not hear if there was a confirmation on what the actual costs involved are now.
Okay, you mean the registration cost?
Yes, I heard you. I
Okay.
heard you say that the budget quote and the tariff change costs were waived.
Have been waived, yes.
Yeah, waived. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, it's fine. There are two types of applications. A residential application, we are looking at, let me just tell you the right figure now. It's 2,140. I just want to give you the exact figure for now.
Are those the figures on the SSEG application?
Yes, those figures are on the
Oh,
SSEG
okay.
application.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, but then I know where to find them. Thank you.
Yeah, but let
Okay.
me, yeah, yes. And then for commercial and other application, it depends on the size of the generator. It depends also on the supply of the customer. So it can go up to 3,280 plus or minus. Yes. Yes. But for residential, it's 2,140.
Okay, so just to clarify again, for residential SSEG applications, the client will be quoted for, if it's residential, the 2,140 Rand. That's it.
Yes, and if I can also indicate that I'm only talking about what the customer will be paying to ESKOM. I'm not talking about the cost of the whole process in general, because there is still each I report that must be generated by a professional registered with EXA. So I'm only talking about the cost that the customer will be paying direct to ESKOM.
Yes, that is what I wanted clarification on.
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yes. Yeah, the price is 2,140.32 cents.
Got it. Noted. Thank you.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, guys, I still see quite a few hands. I think Kevin has dropped off. He's had
Thank
questions.
you, Carol. Carol.
Sipu, yes. Thank you, Sipu. I'm not sure until what time this meeting was scheduled. I know we still have 44 open questions. It looks like we'll be able to continue having discussions until about 5 o'clock. Right, based on the rate that the questions keep coming, and I still see some more hands. Shall we cover the hands that are up and then address the questions in the text box for the next meeting? I think if we can do it that way around. Shekhar, are you there? Shekhar, your moment has
Guys,
arrived.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry. Just some advice. I get my my light bill from the local municipality that includes the rates. Now, what happens is sometimes my generation is too much, and I'm actually paying less than what the rates is. I just want to know if I could get into trouble for that. So basically, what I'm saying, there's nobody at home during the day, and the panels are generating. I've got the old conventional meter that turns backwards.
Yes.
So what happens is it's generating too much, and then at night I'm using it turns forward again for the geyser and whatever.
Are you an ESKOM customer?
No, I'm on a local
Okay.
municipality.
Okay, so Shekhar, you are supposed to register your system with the municipality where you are based, but not all municipalities have processes in place. So you might find that some of your larger metros would have processes in place to be able to register solar systems. But if you're in a municipal area where you can't register your system, I would recommend just make sure that you've got a COC for your installation. Make sure you've got an engineer that has signed off. In other words, get all your paperwork ready and just keep it in a file somewhere, because at some stage, someone might be sending you an email and asking uncomfortable questions. If you are managing your power in a way that your meter turns back during the day and forward again at night, then that's just how you are managing it. When your municipality has the ability to capture those registrations, you might be forced to have your meter replaced.
Okay, thank you for that.
I hope that does that answer your question. So
Yes.
there is a requirement for you to register. You won't register with ESKOM. You register with the municipality where you get your bill from. If the municipality can't deal with your registrations right now, just make sure you've got your paperwork sorted, and then at least you'd be ready to register the system when the municipality gets up to speed.
Still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I've done the installation myself. I am a contractor. I've got the compliance certificate in place, but why do I need an engineer's report?
So you'll find that most municipalities, and it's not an engineer's report, it's most municipalities require a professional engineer to sign off your line diagram. So it's almost like you have a sign off on the design side, and then you have a sign off on the safety side. The design side's covered by the engineer, the safety side's covered by the COC.
Okay, thank you for that.
So if you look at places like City Power, for example, I know up to the last time I heard, things might have changed because they change all the time. An electrician was allowed to sign off the design side of a solar system up to 30 kilowatts. So different municipalities have different rules. So you'd have to wait and see what your municipal rules are with regards to the registration process.
Okay, I've just got a 5 kilowatt system, and so far our municipality hasn't given us any directive as to the way forward on with regards to registration. So at the moment, I'm just enjoying the benefits. You know,
Okay, that's fine. That's what you
yeah.
need to do then. Enjoy it
I
while
just want to know, is there any chance that I could get into trouble for that?
In which municipal area are you?
To the grid.
In which municipal area are you?
I'm not going to tell you that. Then you're going to make them wise.
Well, then I can't. But Checo, then I can't answer your question because I don't know if it's one of the large metros, they have a process in place. If it's not, then just keep enjoying the benefit.
Yes, that's now I don't know the ESKOM guys or the kid.
Nadine,
The guys could be listening on here, and I'm
I
going to make
see-
them wise, and then they're going to come.
I see Lodine. Lodine has a hand up.
Thank you, Carol.
That most, sorry.
Yes, Lodine.
Yes, I just want to confirm that most municipalities in the Western Cape have a framework in place.
Yes.
Yeah, so in the if it's in the Western Cape, I do suggest that you follow due process, because most municipalities are also following now the city's program in terms of disconnecting unauthorized systems and rendering them actually as a tamper. Thank you.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, you're quite right. Thanks, Lodine. Okay, guys, Lerato, are you there? Lerato, and then Huzafa. Lucas, I think your question has been answered with regards to the municipalities, so I'm going to tick that one as done.
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon.
Yes, Lerato.
Okay, yeah. Before I get into my question, I would just like to comment on the point of Mr. Sheka in terms of whether he'll be in trouble or not. So the system as it is operating at the moment, it is feeding back, and then it's very dangerous because it states that this meter during the day it spins in the opposite direction. That means he is feeding back to the grid, and then during maintenance or load shedding, that power will go back into the transformers, and then it will step up to the high voltages on the side. So it shouldn't be that way. So the way it is incorrectly wired, and it is very dangerous, let alone the consumption. So back to my question on the generator. I think that's the lady Lauren who tried to answer it, but then now it was based on the changeover topic that has been an issue here with the gentleman, even I think Mr. Venner. When he was making an example that he's got a changeover that fits only the load, but then it does not allow ESKOM to go via the inverter system. It's the same question that I was asking. For example, I do have a generator here. It's a 7.5 kilowatt generator. It's not a synchronous generator. Synchronous generator, I believe, is the one that will be able to stabilize the grid in terms of power factor correction. So that generator, it is connected in the same principle as Mr. Werner's system, where it only supplies the loads directly, but then via a changeover. And it is a diesel generator of 7.5 kilowatts. So that's the generator that I was asking about. And then secondly,
Also, whoa. One question at a time. Your
okay,
first
sorry.
question regarding the generator, I lost you there. What is it that you need to know?
Okay, with the generator, I would like, my question was based on the residential generator of 7.5 kilowatt that is connected to the load and then via changeover with the ESKOM. So it feeds directly to the load via a changeover. Because I heard on the presentation, Mr. Sipo and yourself, we emphasize that as long as there is a changeover, then it is a grid-tied system, which by definition of a grid-tied, I fail to understand how you came about that is because now you state that as long as there's a changeover, then it is a grid tied. So maybe you can deal with this question, then I will add another one. Thank you.
So Lorato, your installation, because it has a manual changeover switch, it is recommended to inform or just send ESKOM a notification, but it's not a requirement for you to register that particular generator. Ladine, you can maybe just confirm? Because it's a small generator, 7.8 kVA on a manual changeover switch.
Yes, can you hear me, Carol?
Yes, yes, yes. Go
Yes,
ahead.
yes. Yeah. So small generators are not much of an issue. Yeah, if they make it break, that's okay. We're talking more the larger generators at commercial and industrial properties that we definitely need to be informed about. And then the synchronous, we need to confirm protection. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Lorato, does that answer your question? Look, whether you
Yes,
change over...
Oh, sorry, can go ahead, sir.
No, I'm just saying the argument behind how a system is viewed. ESKOM goes to a lot of trouble and they do a lot of studies in how the grid could be impacted by things that we don't even think of. If you think of lightning, for example, you've got lightning strikes all over a city, and the ESKOM infrastructure is struck by lightning multiple times during a thunderstorm. So you have all of those impacts. Then you have guys with solar systems that are feeding power back into the network. You have guys with electrical systems that are causing short circuits on the electrical infrastructure. So you have all of these different mechanisms that create events on the electrical network. And what ESKOM does is they go to a lot of trouble in the meetings that I've been in any case. They go to a lot of effort in creating simulations in what could possibly go wrong in an installation. And when we look at an installation, we look at 1 dB board. We look at this 1 dB board and we're going, yeah, but I've got a changeover switch. Whereas ESKOM, they don't look at 1 dB board, they look at 100,000 dB boards and they go, what could possibly go wrong? And the rules that are generated for the size of the problem and not for the size of the installation. So it's more of a preventative measure. And if we can accept that there's a lot more happening out there than just one small installation, then it kind of starts to make sense about why the rules are in place and why they say what they say. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. Thank you. Yeah, so now, and again, so for example, you stated that a generator of 7.5 kVA is a small generator. So I would also assume a solar system of a 5 kilowatt, like the one that Mr. Singh has, is not an issue because there's severity of for example, a 5 kVA inverter, the maximum current that it can send is very negligible in terms of damaging equipment. So, but nonetheless, my second question is based on the technical definition of on-grid. I know ESKOM subscribes to IEEE, IEC, APRI, NRS, and SABS. So I don't know the definition of because that even when we issue courses to even in university, that when we define the solar system, so there's a grid tied, there's an off-grid, and there's a hybrid. Yeah. So the grid tied system is a system that has no battery storage, like your Ceres solar farm, for example. That's a grid tied system, and that, according to SABS, it says that system, as soon as the grid goes, it must not even generate anything on its load. So basically, it is what is called the grid following inverters. The hybrid inverters that we have are grid forming, for example, because now, irrespective of what voltage comes in, they have internal voltage regulators that keeps the voltage at either 220 or 230. So they are not necessarily affecting the grid. And then more so, earlier in the 2016-17, when these inverters were coming in, the hybrid inverters, the standards were revised. Because initially these hybrid inverters were considered the grid tied, and then that provision was then removed because now the manufacturers, they now incorporated what is called an internal changeover switch, which most of these inverters have. And then, but then nonetheless, SAB standards said they must still be an external. So a grid tied system is a system that has no changeover at all. Once a system has a changeover, it is not a grid tied by definition, and according to what ESKOM subscribes to, IEEE, APRI, IEC, NRS, and SEG, all those platforms. So can you please try to educate us in terms of, maybe you will want to revise the definition of the globally accepted definition of the solar system, or is going to be a South African definition of a grid tied system? Thank you.
Yeah, Lerato, that's interesting. I don't think there is a specific definition. It's a definition that's generated locally by a group of guys that sit around a table and discuss certain things. And in the time that I've been involved with solar, the definition for a hybrid inverter, for example, has been changed multiple times and has been discussed in multiple meetings. And in the meetings that I've been involved in, we've taken international definitions and we've tried to apply them locally, and it doesn't always work. So when you look at the terms of registration, if you look at the Electricity Regulation Act. The Electricity Regulation Act says all systems that are tied to the grid have to be registered. So that is what the Act says. ESKOM then has to come up with how they see that specification and how they are going to but how they are going to handle that registration process and that requirement to fulfill the Act. Other municipalities are going to have their own rules. City of Cape Town, for example, I don't think you're even allowed to register an off-grid system if there is a grid point available. So different municipalities, different definitions, different requirements. So yeah, I hope that kind of speaks to your question.
Yeah, in part, but then your definition contradicts what is the in the standards, because now I think we should define, if you say a system that is connected to the grid, in what way, as a load or as a generator. Because if inverter is connected to the grid just to charge the batteries, then that inverter is a load, is not a generator.
Okay.
So I think we should strike a distinction there. How is it connected, as a load or as a generator into the grid?
I see Lodine has put her hand up. Lodine. Lodine, your
Hi,
mic is
sorry.
off.
There you go. Yeah, I think this is a point that can keep us here till Christmas.
Yes.
And we're never going to agree on this. But like you stated, the city, I can assure you, considers all SSEGs as grid tied. They don't even, you have a SSEG, you need to register. Whether they, from, I think, was it last year, July, they considered everything grid tied.
Yes.
But what I did suggest to Laura is we can just get our technical guy that's worked on SANS, Dr. Johan Bekers,
Yes.
to maybe come to our next session and to tackle this topic. So we can just put ESKOM's position on paper. And like you said, it is the position. whether it's right or wrong, that is the ESKOM position in terms of how we see the grid and how we manage our risks. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
think that's the interesting thing is there is no right or wrong. It's how the utility, and when I say utility, it could also mean a municipality or a network service provider. Each network service provider have their own definitions based on how they perceive risk and how they want to affect the registration process. But it would be good to have Johan Beckers do a short presentation on how it was viewed and maybe give us some insight on NRS.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, no, it will be very great. Yeah, I know Dr. Johanna. I've worked with him in a couple of projects. No, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Lerato. Guys, 2 more questions. We've got Uzafa and then Skalk van der Merwe, and then we're calling it a day. This was been a 2-hour meeting. I've had 1 or 2 guys asking for a break, so I'm sorry there's been no tea break. I haven't had one either. Guys, that kind of brings us to the end of the meeting then. I'm going to conclude the meeting. Thanks to all the attendees from ESKOM who's presented, and for all the answers to Sipu, Lodine, and Laura. Laura, is there anything you want to say in closing, or can we just conclude the meeting?
It's not Laura, Carl, it's Lodine. Laura unfortunately had to excuse herself. I would just like to say thank you very much from ESKOM's side for creating this platform where we can address our challenges. ESKOM is very committed to give all customers access to the grid, and we really value these relationships in defining the challenges and in seeing where we meet each other. Thank you very much to everybody.
Excellent. Thanks, Nadine. Thanks, Sipu. Thanks,
Thank
guys,
you.
for joining.